Namaste for the new session. The last session we were considering the difference between the mind and Chitta. There is a lot to say about the distinction and indistinction between the two. We know what the mind does. We know what the mind does, what the mind takes, and what the mind gives. So that's our part of experience of life, and we can understand what the mind does, what the mind gives, what the mind takes. So as students of yoga, try to again have a formal thought process, formal approach, formal examination of what really our psychological mind, empirical mind, temporal mind, what does it do, what does it get, what does it give, what does it take, etc. So I leave that to you because that matter is very much available with you, and you can be really going for examining that. And this is important for students of yoga to develop clarity about the mind. Now the problem comes because we are taking recourse to English language, because in the English language we will refer to Chitta also as mind, and that's why the problem comes up. But if you start later trying to understand, now I will give you some input about what the Chitta does, because that's not common man's realm of thought process. We will only think of what the mind does, takes and gives. Let me tell you about the Chitta. It is because of the Chitta we have the thought process. It is because of the Chitta we have mind. It is because of the Chitta we have got mind, manas, precisely. Because of Chitta we have got buddhi. And because of Chitta we have got ahamkara, identity. That's why Chitta is more properly called as mind stuff. So Chitta will be giving for what all the mind gives, what all the intellect gives, what all the emotion gives, and what they take. So Chitta is again a very wider concept, as I have been telling you. Like if you just try to examine, as we said in the last session, we pick up water from ocean in a container, in a vessel. What will that water do, tell me? What will the water give and take? With a vessel kept, you cannot expect rains to come. But with the ocean, the whole cycle of rains will be available. It is because of the ocean that we get rains on the planet. A vessel of water, or several vessels of water, thousands and millions and billions of vessels of water, will not trigger the rain cycle. So you cannot even imagine. Although physical, chemistry wise, substance wise, water in the vessel and water in the ocean is one and the same, which the chemist will tell you that it is same water. However, function wise, whatever amount of water contained in vessels will never give you rains, but ocean will give you rains, and ocean only gives us rains. It is because of ocean that we have rains, we get rains. So understand how Chitta is a greater concept than the same water filled up in a vessel. Now, there are several vrittis of the mind. If we are asked a question, how many are the vrittis of mind, or how many are the vrittis of Chitta, you will tend to answer that there are 5, but that won't be a proper answer. That's a wrong answer. Patanjali has not told us that there are 5 chitta vrittis, or then there are 5 manovrittis, because the fact of the matter is that there are countless manovrittis, countless chitta vrittis. Sukha vritti, dukkha vritti, lobha vritti, moha vritti, krodha vritti. It's all the chitta vritti. There are countless. You just try to work on this project as to how many chitta vrittis are there. Happiness, sadness, delight, sorrow, anger, love, hatred, likes, dislikes. There are countless chitta vrittis. There are countless manovrittis. And that's why Patanjali does not say that there are 5 chitta vrittis. He says there are 5 classes of chitta vrittis. Because when there are so many types and so many types of anything, we go for a functional classification. We go for a functional classification. How many types of human beings you have? In one class you will say there are only 2. If you want to consider the gender, male, female, or today the third one will come in there. But then how many, so that's a functional classification. If you want to have demographic studies, what do you go for? Then there are 3 kinds of human beings today. But for different functions, we have different classifications. So Patanjali has made a functional classification insofar as yoga is concerned. Restraining the chitta is concerned. Yoga is for chitta vritti nirodha. So for chitta vritti nirodha, the classification says there are 5 classes of chitta vrittis. They should not be taken as 5 chitta vrittis. 5 classes of chitta vrittis for this particular function. In another function, we will have different classification. Like you want to know how many sane people are in the world and how many insane people are in the world. Then we'll have only 2 classes, sanity, insanity. How many good people are there, how many bad people are there. Then we'll have 2 classes, good and bad, good people and bad people. Sane people, insane people. Healthy people, unhealthy people. So we will have the classifications will be different. And that's called functional classification. So when it comes to functional classification, in yoga, there are 5 kinds of chitta vrittis for the purpose of yoga. For purpose of any other job, occupation, service, profession, business, etc., there will be different classifications. Like somebody might be a very capable person to be working as a clerk in an office. But the same person, when he is capable to work in an office as a clerk, the person will be incapable to work in defense services. So the person will be classed as incapable when the classification goes to defense services. Like we might pick up some healthy people. We pick up 10 healthy people. So all the 10 people are healthy. 10 people healthy in what parameter? Same 10 people, healthy people that we have picked up for, say, clerical job or some business, some activity, etc. They might be fit people. You send same 10 people to defense services. All the 10 might be sent back as incapable. You might be healthy for business life, activity of life, but are you enough healthy to be a pilot of an aircraft? We very well know it's a different parameter of health to be a pilot, to be an astronaut. We might be fit to whatever we are doing in the world. Are we fit to, all of us, are we fit to become astronauts? No. All of us, are we fit to be a pilot? No. Why? If we are fit here, why not there as well? So that cannot be an argument. So it's a functional parameter. To be pilot, there will be parameters to check whether somebody is healthy. To be in military services, there is a parameter to check whether is a person fit to be in services or to be an astronaut. So there are different classifications for healthiness and unhealthiness. We follow. There will be different classifications for healthiness and unhealthiness. You might be healthy in A class, not healthy in B, not healthy in C, nowhere healthy at all, just in A. So for A class, you might be healthy. For all other classes, you might be unhealthy. So there are functional classifications everywhere. Similarly, there is functional classification of Chitta Vrittis. There are 5 classes of Chitta Vrittis. So one of the distinction and indistinction about mind and Chitta with an example of vessels of water and vessel in ocean. Even if that's an ocean vessel of water, yet it will not give us rain. It will not give so much on climatic conditions, etc. That won't contribute as much as the ocean will contribute. Ocean can give you tsunamis. In whatever you do, a vessel will not give you a tsunami. Glass of water will not give you a tsunami. However, ocean will give you a tsunami. So Chitta has that potency. Mind doesn't have that potency. Mind is a part of it. So I'm trying to make you understand the distinction between Chitta and Manas, and basically I want to see that you don't use the word mind for Chitta. Chitta should be rendered as Chitta or maybe mind stuff. But if you are a student, you must use the Chitta for Chitta and Manas for Manas. Not as you say, as you get in, even in the text of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, restraining mind is yoga. And then there are 5 vrittis of mind. This is all not proper. This is very improper. Now, Mano Vritti and Chitta Vritti. Let us try to understand the difference between Mano Vritti and Chitta Vritti. See, happy mind will make the Chitta also happy. Sad mind will make the Chitta also sad. Are you going to equate then Mano Vritti and Chitta Vritti? You can't equate, because Chitta Vritti has ocean depth. Mano Vritti has not even a pond lake, or maybe just a pond depth. Mano Vritti will have a pond depth and Chitta Vritti will have ocean depth. Now, let me try to explain you what is Chitta Vritti, when does it become Chitta Vritti. Because Mano Vritti itself is going to become Chitta Vritti. It is because of the magnitude. Suppose I know that you like chocolates and I offer 1 chocolate. You will be happy. You will be happy. But how much will be the happiness? What will be the depth of happiness? How deep will the happiness go? Tell me. If I give you what you like, a ball of ice cream or a chocolate or whatever is your obsession, I just give you that. How much are you going to get the happiness? What is the depth of happiness? So you'll be happy with a ball of ice cream or with a chocolate or a container of chocolates. You'll be happy. But now what will be the happiness if I tell you that I have credited or I'm going to credit 100 million rupees to your account? What will be the depth of happiness? Tell me. How deep will you be happy? So you will be happier at to a very great depth if I give you 100 million rupees. So there is something called as depth of happiness, depth of sorrow. You can be sorrowed. I just pinch you. You will say, yeah, yes, it is painful. It has given me sorrow. But what is the depth of that sorrow? And what is the depth of some other sorrow which is high magnitude sorrow? It goes deep into your psyche. The sorrow goes deep into your psyche. So there is something called as trajectory and there is something called as depth of sukha, dukkha, moha, which the mind gets. So when the magnitude is enormously huge, then it becomes chitta vritti. Now I will try to give an example for you to understand. This is not the example that comes in pedantics, because we are in educative process here, so let me make it clear that this example won't come in pedantic process. However, for you to understand this, I am giving you this example. Let's try to understand how the manovritti is different than chitta vritti in terms of magnitude. Now, this is a story which happened about 40-50 years back. The child, as usual, a girl, went out to play in the evening. The girl was about 5, 6, 7 years of age. And as usual, she went out to play with her friends in the evening. And as usual, mother allowed her to go, because every day she was going and playing with her friends. So the girl went at about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock out to play. The mother expected that the girl would return by about 7 o'clock. And at 7 o'clock, the child did not return. So mother started getting little worries as to why my daughter has not come, why she is not returned. Now see, various vrittis will be coming here. So you can understand how much the fear is there when the child is about half an hour late, or late up to half an hour, child has not yet arrived home. Then the mother starts having a thought process. Now I have made my child wise, intelligent. I told her to take certain precautions. I have trained her. Therefore, nothing untoward will happen. See, those were the days when, unlike today, the child did not have any cell phone. These days, the child would be carrying cell phone when she goes out to play, and the parents have no problem. They will contact her and they will know whereabouts. But those were the days when that was not there. There were not even telephones, landlines in the houses of people to inquire. Today we have no problems. We will phone all the family, the whole family of the all friends of the girl, and we'll try to identify where is the girl, and then we will be comforted. Why the girl has not yet come. But those were the days when we did not have that communication. Now the mother goes on thinking, I have really trained my child. I have really educated my child. What precautions the child should be taking, and therefore nothing untoward will happen. This is called her ahamkara vritti. Why? I have trained her. I have educated my child. So that gives her little comfort. That is ahamkara vritti. Then sometimes there is buddhi vritti. No, my child is also intelligent. The child is not stupid. The child will not be going with somebody, unknown person, etc. The child is intelligent. My child is sufficiently intelligent. That is buddhi vritti. When the worry comes up, then it is mano vritti. Oh, why the child has not come? Why the child has not come? Now the time was 8:30. Child had not returned. So the worry, anxiety got increased. It was increasing moment to moment, minute by minute. So it was now 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. The child did not return. No clue as to where the child is. Then slowly mother loses the confidence and then starts thinking, no, certainly some untoward thing has happened. Otherwise it cannot be that late and this late. So the mother slowly gets convinced, gradually, that something is now gone wrong. If you recall, in about half an hour, 1 hour time, mother was having some comfort. No, maybe nothing has happened. Child is intelligent. I have trained my child. Child is trained by me, educated by me. I have sufficiently spoken to my child, informed my child. So see the comfort zone she was in. But now understand the total discomfort that she has. At 11:30 the child has not yet returned. At 12:30 the child has not yet returned. Now see how deep the vritti of fear must have gone. How deep the vritti of anxiety. Now it's no more anxiety and worry. Now it is certainty that something has definitely happened. Now at 12:30 the mother collapses because of worry. Now this is something like chitta vritti. That means she is subsumed by one thought, something untoward has definitely happened. There is no doubt about it, not even iota of doubt that something might have not happened. Now she is not alternating between yes, no, possible, impossible. She is not oscillating. Now she is pretty sure, absolutely sure, damn sure that something has definitely happened. So it has subsumed whole mind into one kind of fear of one single intensity, which is very, very, very strong intensity, so much so that she even collapses. So the vritti has gone so deep, which was not so deep at 7:30. It was not deep at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Now it has gone very, very, very deep. Now the chitta vritti is that some untoward thing has happened to my child. My child is totally unsafe. That is chitta vritti. So the magnitude of the vritti, the magnitude of fear expands to such an extent that she is totally subsumed by that vritti, that something untoward has definitely happened. Not even 0.00001% of not having happened. Chitta vritti, that means the vritti has gone so deep into the mind. So understand how chitta vritti is stronger than mano vritti. Mano vritti might oscillate. There might be ripples. Mano vritti to buddhi vritti to ahamkara vritti, it can go here and there. But when it becomes chitta vritti, there is no mano vritti distinct to buddhi vritti, no buddhi vritti distinct to ahamkara vritti, no ahamkara vritti distinct to mano vritti. All the three have become one. So that is what the chitta vritti is. So this is an example for you to be understanding as to what the chitta vritti is as against mano vritti. Mano vrittis come and go. But when the vritti is gone so deep, it doesn't leave you. Suppose you are happy to that extent. Somebody has written property, unexpectedly written property on your name, written down the property, worth some hundreds of millions of rupees. Your happiness, it totally subsumes you with happiness. So chitta vritti has that. That's why it is chitta vritti. Patanjali uses chitta vritti nirodha, not mano vritti nirodha, because only during last session I told you, mano vritti can be restrained. Mano vritti can be restrained. Take a sedative, swallow some sedatives, a sleeping pill, or when you get a natural sleep, there is no mano vritti. There is no mano vritti. But Patanjali counts nidra in chitta vritti. You can't count sleep in mental modulation. It is a state of consciousness. Sleep is a state of consciousness. It is not mental modification. Sleep is not mental modification because there are no modifications in the mind when you are fast asleep. When you are in dreamless sleep, there are no waves and ripples on the mind. So manovritti can be stopped by a natural sleep, good sleep, or artificially induced sleep, or a comatic state. There will be no manovritti. However, they all are counted in chitta vritti. Even comatose is a chitta vritti. Unconscious state is a chitta vritti. because Chitta Vritti is considered at that depth. Anyway, so that's one more attempt for you to understand the difference between Manovritti and Chitta Vritti, Manas and Chitta. So it is really, if I may say so, poverty of the language where you don't have word for Chitta, and where there is no word for Chitta as distinct to word mind, because it should be a separate mind, a separate word for it. You can't say glass has water, ocean has water. Ocean water has enormous functions, enormous powers. A glass of water doesn't have those powers. So mind, Manovritti and mind is like a glass containing water. And Chitta Vritti is something, the water of ocean. It might be same water substantially. However, functionally, in magnitude, in potency, in function, in manifestation, there is enormous difference. A glass of water can at most quench your thirst. It cannot give you a complete face wash. You can't wash your face with one glass of water. So scanty is that water. But ocean can sink you, sink whole humanity, sink whole globe into it. Anyway, so that was one more attempt for you to explain the difference between Chitta Vritti and Manovritti. Then in the last session we came to conclude the sensory act or act of the senses, sensely acts, indriya kriya, indriya kriya. So we were dealing with that during up to in the last session and a session previous to that. So we understood how important is the sensely act or sensory act or act of the senses. So I told you, try to understand how your relaxed eyes are in Shirshasana, how the relaxed eyes in Sarvangasana are different, how relaxed eyes in Halasana are different, how relaxed eyes are different in Janu Shirshasana to Viparidandasana to various asanas. And then what are the functions? What the eyes do? Why is it that your eyes don't relax in a backward bending session? But why is that your eyes relax in a Shirshasana session or inversion session? Shirshasana Sarvangasana session, one can say that somebody has done Shirshasana Sarvangasana. If you are really familiar with asanic practices, you can make out somebody has done back bend practices, somebody has done forward bend practices from the very eyes, So what is the function of eyes in various asanas? What is the function of the ears in various asanas? What are the functions of senses in various asanas? The functions will be different, the roles will be different, the manifestations will be different, the purposes will be different. So this is an important study for a student to conceive indriya kriya. What can be done to the senses? What can you do for eyes in Shirshasana? What can you do for eyes in Sarvangasana and Viparidandasana and Janu Shirshasana? What the eyes can do in those asanas? What can be done for eyes in those asanas is a matter of yogasanic process, which is unattended to in our modern, fashionable, consumeristic yoga. So that's a sensely act. What the senses can do, what can be done for senses, what is extrasensory act of the senses. See, you will become aware that there are extrasensory acts for the senses, which a common man doesn't take notice of. Now your eyes are visual organs, eyes are not memory organs. But strangely, suppose you want to remember something very badly, you remember recollection, you want a memory of something very badly, you need it. Why do you close your eyes and press the eyes strongly, clench your eyes? Clenchingly close your eyes for memory that you want to remember something. Because that act of closing the eyes and tightly closing the eyes and clenching the eyes triggers the brain somewhere, and it also triggers the memory cortex, and therefore many times we remember those things. So when you want a memory, don't put a clamp to your eyes and try to get the memory. Close your eyes, tightly close your eyes. Memory will surface. But if you open the eyes extraordinarily large and huge and you clamp them, opening the eyes, you clamp the eyes, it won't work for memory. But that's how the natural process is. It's not education. Anybody when doesn't remember, even illiterate person doesn't remember, he is not learned in the book of body that you have to tightly close your eyes for memory. So the eyes work for even defense system. If there is a huge thud, what have the eyes got to do there? It is only ears which have got to do there. Ears might be lost because of the huge bang and sound. But then why do we close the eyes? When we close the eyes, ears are protected. So eyes become protector of the ears. Eyes become protector of the brain. Now we can't be doing that in our ears. But however, we can do that in our eyes. We can't do that in our nose. We can do in our eyes. We can do perhaps in our tongue and mouth, in fear, etc. Some defensive mechanism will be there. So that will stimulate certain chemicals in the brain, and that will work for defense system. So there are extrasensory acts of the senses as well. So this is again a matter of study that we have to carry out when we are going to study, if I may say so, a subject which is so important in yoga, that is Sensology. Sensology. Then what happens to senses in pratyahar? How the senses contribute for pratyahar? What is the effect of pratyahar on the senses? So there are so many things to study with regards to senses, and therefore Patanjali implies a subject called Sensology. This subject is not there in modern academics, but it is so important in pursuit of yoga. Sensology. What are the functions of the mind? What are the extrasensory functions of the senses? So there is much to say about the acts of the senses, but it should be enough for time being when we are having a first kind of lesson on it. So as I just now made a kind of a proposal, and I said that we would be going for another kriya, next kriya, which is Shwasa kriya. The breathly acts, or Shwasa kriya, the acts of the breath. So this is a kind of subject which can be called, which is so important, so vital in yoga, breathology. What can be done by the breath, for the breath, on the breath, in the breath, with the breath. Both the breath as benefactor, breath as beneficiary, we must go for examination, we must go for analysis, we must go for a thought process, deliberation on it. It is so important to be students of yoga. The breath is almost an internal cognitive organ while we are working in asanas, in pranayama, in any of the yogic practices. The breath is so important. Breath has all potentials. Let me tell you about the so kind of indoctrination that we have in this world, that if you do something with your mind totally involved, you are 100% involved. So you think that my mental involvement is 100% involvement. But in that case, understand, if you want to solicit all responses from the mind and you are trying to beseech the mind, please come in, please help me, please participate, please involve, the mind along with the body has so many limitations, genetic limitations, genealogical limitations, karmic limitations. Many things the body cannot do. Why? Because there are so many limitations in the body. And the limitations are from something very, very physical to something genetic, genealogical, ethnic. So many things are there which put a limitation on the abilities of the body, capabilities of the body, capacities of the body. The body is going to be in any case limited. The body will be in any case limited. It has limitations, enormous limitations, enormous gravity is working on it. And the body itself has gravities on us. And because of the given body, we will be limited. The body itself has limited, and it also is a limiter. It puts limitations on us. It itself is limited and it also can put limitations on us. Basically, there is a genetic background to our body. You can't do anything in that case. What can you do? If you have inherited something genetically, if you have inherited some kind of inefficiency, lack of energy, lack of power in body, what are you going to do? Whatever you might do, yet you will not overcome that. That is going to stay with you. Genetic background, ethnic background, genealogical background, karmic background, your own karma baggages will put lots of limitations on your body. So is the case of mind. Whatever you might say, the mind is limited. Because it has a genetic background, genealogical background, ethnic background, karmic background. So they are going to have their own limitations, and they are also capable of extending more limitations on you. So they have limitations and they are also limiters. Although we are not familiar with this inflection for the word limit, limiter, it is so important here to have it. They put lots of limitations on us. The body and mind have lots of limitations because they have all kinds of gravities working on them, from physical gravities to karmic gravities, genetic, genealogical, ancestral gravities. So many gravities are there. So they are your body and your mind and your senses. See how much they have these limitations. Now I refer to something that is your breath. Like your body, your mind, your senses, your psyche, your consciousness, your organs, your brain. Now I refer to your breath. See how this your breath is totally distinct to all that is yours, which I just now mentioned. Your breath doesn't have genetic background, ancestral background, family background, genealogical background, karmic background. There is no karma baggage on your breath. However, there is karma baggage on your mind, karma baggage on your senses, karma baggage on your organs of body, organs of mind, karma baggage on your body. And therefore, they put a permanent limitation on you for the lifetime. There are limitations for the lifetime. You really can't break those shackles. There is no way to break that shackles. Because they are all under such gravities and they are all bound. They are shackles, they have shackles. They are shackles, they have shackles. But the breath, we tend to say that it is my breath. The breath that you are taking, the breath that you are expelling, you say this is my inhalation, this is my exhalation. Now this yours is totally different than all other yours things. This has no gravity whatsoever. It doesn't have any delimitation. Body has delimitation. Body has caste, class, creed, gender, status, stature, condition, genetics, genealogical, karmic backgrounds. These are all limitations to body and mind. But the breath doesn't have delimitations at all. These delimitations are not there. Breath doesn't have caste, class, race, creed, gender, status, stature, karma. It has nothing behind it. So, common man doesn't understand this fascinating agency within us. For every kind of act we are using the breath which goes unidentified. This should not happen to student of yoga. Identify the role of the breath. For every kind of act, or as often as possible, try to identify the role of the breath. Let me give a little out of place example, perhaps little indecent example. How the breath contributes, which goes unidentified. Suppose you are kept engaged in a place that you can't move. You are sitting there hours together, hours together, hours together. And then for some time, because of the demands of the situation, condition, you have restrained your natural calls. Natural call of urination, you have restrained it for a while, for quite a while. For some reasons you can't move from there and go to a lavatory or go to toilet. Now when you have restrained it so long, and then when you really pass urine, you will identify the role of the breath for you to be passing the urine or to pass even bowel movements. If you have restrained it for too long, we will see how the breath plays an important role. Or suppose you are constipated, you are not passing the motion, you will identify how you are using a post-exhalative retention to push the fecal matter from the colons to be passing the motion. So we just think of the breath, oxygenation, decarbonate exhalation, inhale, get the oxygen, exhale, pass out the carbon dioxide. This is what we learn by respiratory breaths. But what the breath internally does goes unidentified. This should not take place for a keen student of yoga. Try to understand how the breath plays role. For even your act of eating, you don't think that you are using your breath, but you do so many processes in your mouth like biting, masticating, etc., chewing, etc., etc. But finally you have to gulp the food. Now it is the act, there the breath comes for you to gulp the food or even gulp the water. If you want to drink the water should go from mouth to throat and down. And you will have to therefore swallow the water, gulp the water. There is a contribution of the breath which goes unidentified. We have taken it for granted. We never thank the breath for that. As much as an asthmatic patient will thank the breath for the breathing, because the person is panting, cannot be breathing, and then when he breathes, he says, thank God. He says, thank you breath, you moved. We never bother about it. We have taken it for granted. So many roles they are playing. If you want to do an extraordinary physical act, you want to lift the weight, you think you only test your muscle power and you are lifting the weight. A bottle is tightly closed, you want to open the bottle, you think it's only physical strength by which we will open. No, you have not identified. You exhale and retain your breath to open that tightly closed bottle. Goes unidentified. The breath's contribution goes unidentified. You are lifting the weight. The breath's contribution goes unidentified. You think it's a bicep power, shoulder power, arm power, muscle power with which you have lifted the weight. No doubt, of course, that is important. However, the breath coming in goes unconsidered, uncounted for. This is not justifiable. So as students of yoga, you have to develop this attitude. Let me keep watching how often I am using the breath spontaneously, naturally, how breath spontaneously comes in for my act. A physical act. If you are doing a posture for intensity, you think it's only your will. No, it is the breath which contributes for your intensity in the posture. You want to turn, you want to rotate, you want to stretch, you want to elongate. Exaltedly, the breath will come in there, which goes unaccounted for, unconsidered, uncounted. This is not justifiable. So we are indulging in a lot of injustice by not recognizing the breath and breathing. Where does it come? If it is coming, why not schematize it? Why not make it come at proper point in time in proper way? Is it anyway going to come? With a final statement, let me say that these days, when you have all this pranayama being taught in various schools and by various teachers, they only deal with respiratory breaths. This is a mockery. Whereas in the neo-yoga, which is not only light classical, it is non-classical, unclassical, reference is only made to in-breath and out-breath. Watch the breath. Watch the breath. This is what has become today's pranayama. Just mindfully, watchfully do the breathing. There is no way pranayama. No, it is not even in the run up to the pranayama. Just doing breathing with awareness. This is what is pranayama in modern neo-yoga, yoga of our times. We only consider the breath as respiratory breathing. Respiratory breathing is there just for us to be keeping living. It will help us keep living. It will help us keep our autonomous system functioning. Respiratory system will only work for the two functions. One is to keep us living. The other one is to keep autonomous system functioning. Whereas the breath has enormous potentials. Breath has enormous potentials which go unused, unidentified even. So in asanas you will understand how the breath is used, how much the breath has usages, how enormously the breath is a very, very potent force, how the breath is the internal cognitive organ, internal cognitive organ. The breath has muscles. If you think that there is behind body power, there is muscle power, and behind the mind there is mind muscle power, we don't identify the breath power behind all that. Breath has its muscles. The breath has its senses. Breath has its cognitive system. The breath has its cognitive system. Breath does enormous acts, which is discovered by yoga technology and the Shastra, Yoga Shastra. And therefore, yoga is the only science, only subject which deals with breath, using the breath, forms of breath, classes of breath, functions of breath, roles of breath, manifestations of breath, acts of breath, and also acts on breath, acts for breath. How the breath can be addressed, how breath needs to be addressed, and how much the breath can be addressing. So this realm of activity in human beings is totally out of sight. So breathly act is going to consider that. So let's try to understand. Read the breath. Basically, as a final statement, let me tell you, the body and mind have something as caste, class, creed, race, gender, status, stature, condition, karmic background, karmic gravities, and the breath is the one which doesn't have. It doesn't have any of those. Yoga makes use of such a pristine agency. So that's why whole yoga, be that yama, niyama, ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, everywhere it is the breath as a major material. Because the breath is without delimitations. The powers of the breath are almost immeasurable. If I may say so, breath as an internal agent, if it is developed sufficiently, it is an omnipotent agency within us. What is it that it cannot do? Should be the question. Although in the beginning the question will be what the breath does. So let's take up the first question in our next session. What the breath does. What the breath can do, what the breath may do, what are the acts, functions of the breath. So we will try to have idea as to how much and what all the breath does. Then you will get a question which, not a question to be answered. It is a question to make a statement. What is it that the breath doesn't do? It is not a question, it's a statement. It means, it sounds, it says that the breath does everything. When you put such a question, what is it that the breath doesn't do? Literally it sounds to be a question. It is not a question, it's a statement. So let's try to reach that statement. What is it that it cannot do? But to start with, what the breath does. That is for next time. Namaste.